Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Chapter 14, which focuses on mutual funds, real estate, and other investment choices. What is a mutual fund? The definition is a professionally managed group of investments bought using a pool of money from many investors. This graphic describes how a mutual fund works. Investors like you and I can invest in a mutual fund. In a sense, we pool our money together at a fund house, such as Vanguard, Fidelity, just to name a few. That fund house appoints a fund manager. This manager's job is to oversee the mutual fund to make sure it is performing at or above market. That fund manager takes the pool of money and invests it in a variety of stocks, bonds, and whatever they see fit to meet the objectives of the mutual fund. Hopefully, that mutual fund will generate a return which is passed back to the investor. A mutual fund is comprised of many different securities. So when you buy a mutual fund, you are not just buying one simple stock or one bond. You are buying a component, one piece of that whole big pie. And some of the advantages of mutual funds is that they're professionally managed by the fund manager. They're a financial professional whose job is to oversee the fund to ensure it is performing appropriately. A mutual fund, like stock, is very liquid in that it is easily converted into cash. If you want your cash when you are invested in a mutual fund, all you have to do is sell your mutual fund and you can get your cash. A mutual fund by nature is very diversified. Since you are investing in one mutual fund, which is comprised of a variety of securities, it is naturally a very diversified investment. And lastly, a mutual fund requires a small minimum investment. Some mutual funds you can begin your investment with less than $1,000. Different classifications of mutual funds include growth, income, growth and income, money market, global, and index funds. A growth fund, just like a growth stock, the objective is to increase in value over time. A lot of times a growth fund will not pay that much of dividends within the fund because those profits of the companies are being reinvested in the stocks. So a growth fund is objectively trying to grow over time. An income fund is going to produce an income in the form of interest or dividends. The interest can be earned on bonds, the dividends could be earned on stocks, and all of these different securities are within the mutual fund. A growth and income fund is somewhat of a balanced mutual fund. It's balanced because a growth fund is a lot of times more risky, whereas an income fund is a little more conservative since it's paying dividends. So when you have a growth and income fund, it's a nice balanced option to invest in. Money market funds are very safe as they are invested primarily in treasury bills that are government issued and bonds. A lot of these securities are low risk, but as we know from previous chapters, low risk equals a low potential return. A global fund is what it sounds like, global. It is invested in a variety of international stocks and bonds, as well as some US securities. An index fund is just as it sounds, index. As we know from Chapter 12, a stock index is a benchmark for how the performance of the overall stock market is doing. So an index fund is designed to mimic and look very similar to the specific stock index. So for example, you can invest in an S&P 500 index fund. That mutual fund is comprised of elements that mimic that of the S&P 500. Here's a risk and return pyramid. Obviously at the bottom, low risk means low return. As you go up the pyramid, high risk equates to a high return. As I stated previously, money market funds, they are comprised of T-bills and different bonds. They are very safe investments. So this fund is going to pay a very small return compared to, say, a growth fund, which is at the top of the risk and return pyramid. A growth fund's objective is to grow in value. So therefore, it's going to be much more risky than a money market fund. How a mutual fund is valued is called the net asset value. You have to remember that with a mutual fund, you don't just own one stock or one bond. You own a whole combination of different securities within the fund. So you have to determine what the value of each share that you can buy is. So the share price of a mutual fund is known as the net asset value, NAV. How it's calculated is it takes the value of the portfolio minus the liabilities and divide it by the number of shares outstanding, and it will come up with a value per share. The next type of investment that we're going to discuss very quickly is real estate. Real estate is a great investment as it's considered a great way to combat inflation because it usually increases over the years that you own it. When you're buying real estate, you may be buying a house, vacant land, a second home, a vacation home. So you're buying some type of land and or buildings. It's a great combat for inflation. However, the biggest downside to owning real estate is it's not liquid at all. If you think about how long it may take to sell a house, it could take months or years to sell that house. So compared to, say, stocks, owning real estate is not very liquid. When you buy real estate, it's considered a direct investment because you, the investor, are owning the actual title to that property. As I stated previously, how you can invest in real estate, you could buy vacant land. If you think a certain area may start to have a increase in population, you may decide to buy a piece of vacant land in hopes that maybe a builder down the road may want to buy it from you. You could buy a single family house. Most people, when they buy a house that's to live in, they look at that house as an investment. If you really want to purchase another property, you could buy a property and rent it out. Rental income can be a great source of revenue for you. Another piece of property you could buy would be a recreation or like a vacation property. If you decide to buy a house down in Ocean City, New Jersey to vacation at, you could go down and use it some times of the year, or you could rent it out other times of the year. It can generate some really good revenue for you. And lastly, a retirement property. When we stop working and we decide to retire, you may decide that you want to buy a nice retirement property in Florida. Other types of investment choices that this chapter mentions are precious metals, gems, and collectibles. Precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, copper, these are different metals that people can invest in all around the world. A lot of times these things are considered very speculative. It's hard to find a buyer and there's no guarantee on who's going to want to buy it, how long you would have to hold it, and also just the bottom line, is that metal going to increase in value? Precious stones, diamonds, sapphires, all of these stones are considered an investment. And lastly, collectibles. These are very, very tough to sell because you need a very specific buyer. If you collect a very large have a stamp collection over years because you think it's a great investment, you need to find the right buyer that's going to be interested in your stamp collection. Same with comic books or different famous artwork. These types of collectibles are very speculative. Make sure you follow up with the textbook and always search the internet if you want more information about any of these topics.